Good evening, good morning to you, Peggy. Welcome to High Profile Q&A. I'm Vanessa Talbot, and I'm Profile Building Alchemist for coaches and change makers. So anyone who wants to be out there and spread their mission and their work and change the world, that's who I work with. So thank you, Peggy, for coming along. I'm going to do a little bit of an intro for you. So for everyone that's listening, we're really going to talk about, with Peggy McColl, how to create a bestseller and anything else that's got to do with what Peggy does and getting books out there or building profiles, all that sort of stuff. So we've got bestseller maker, millionaire author mentor. That's the bit that I love, millionaire author mentor. Peggy McColl. Now, Peggy is also actually a New York Times bestselling author. That's so cool. I'll ask you about that too. Sure. And internationally recognized slashy, meaning she's also a speaker, author, mentor, and an expert in the whole area of goal achievement. Thank you for taking the time to come along and have a chat with me about.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here, Vanessa. Thanks for inviting me. I love to, I know it's midnight for you. It's 8 o'clock in the morning for me. And those that are watching this, it's whatever time it is in the world for them if they're watching the recording. And you know, when you made the request, you know, I love to see people that are really out here serving the world. And I know that's what is in your heart. I know that's what you're doing. And I love to team up and do whatever I can to help bring more good into the world, because that's, I think, what we're here for.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And I'm so grateful that you're here to have this chat with me. As I said, I've got a few questions because it is midnight here in Australia. So I have brought some questions in with me for some of the people that couldn't make it. So really we'll just rock into it. I really first want to know about that New York Times bestselling author. I don't really know the story. What book it was or how many books. What happened to actually get that title of New York Times bestselling author?
That is a great question. And, you know, my answer is going to apply to anything, meaning that where the whole, creation came from was a decision. I made a decision that I was going to do it. And it was my fourth book. And I had self-published 3 books and brought them out to the world and sold thousands of copies. And I was selling those from my website. And then Hay House bought the rights to my book, Your Destiny Switch. And when it was in what's called production, in other words, it's getting ready to be brought out to the world, it's like a baby that's inside the mommy's belly, I planned to make that book a New York Times bestseller. So how I did it was starting with the decision that I would do it. And then secondly, I created a plan. And of course, that's the area that I specialize in, is marketing, and marketing books or marketing programs or services or coaching or whatever. So I created a plan for making this a New York Times bestseller. And I worked my plan for several weeks. And I actually worked on the plan and executed the plan, meaning I was taking action each and every week. And I did that for 6 months. 6 months. And the book was being released on May 1st. And so what I decided to do was have a big promotion. It's kind of like anyone you ever see when people are launching a new movie and all of a sudden you're seeing these little preview clips everywhere, and you're going to see other movies at the theater and you'll see, previews, or you'll see commercials on TV. It's kind of like a big push, right? A big promotion. So everybody gets excited and they see impressions, and that's the idea. So I created that. I put it all together, got a lot of people to help me and support me. And then on May 1st, the book launched. And the first day it launched, it went right up the top of the charts on Amazon.com. And I was directing all the buyers to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. They could each get one to buy the book. And the book got to number 2, right behind Harry Potter. I couldn't knock Harry off the list. I tried. I really tried. But, that's okay. It was great to see my book up there as a bestseller with Harry Potter. And as a result of the sales that week, the book made it on the New York Times bestseller list, or earned its way on the New York Times bestseller list.
And so that's my question. What's the difference between, New York Times bestseller list and then being an Amazon bestseller, for example? I mean, I think I can understand it, but I don't really know what the big difference is to get the title of New York Times bestseller.
Okay, that's a great question too. So quite simply on Amazon.com, they have a top 100 bestsellers, and there's millions of books that are being sold on Amazon, and they are the biggest reseller in the world. So, and they are stationed in the United States. So any books that are selling on Amazon.com, within a period, every hour, they're updating the ranking. So if you're doing promotions where you're promoting your book on a particular day or a defined period of time, what you're doing is you're causing a buying activity to occur so that the book is rising up the charts, right? And even if your book's not shipping, the ranking of the book, if there's a sale, the ranking of the book will be impacted by Amazon.com. Amazon.com also has subcategories or categories and subcategories. So they'll have fiction, nonfiction, and then within those categories, they'll have subcategories. So if your book is a fiction book and it's science fiction, then it'll be in fiction under science fiction. If your book is a nonfiction book and it's personal development, it might be in a number of different categories. Could be in new age, could be in personal development, could be in self-esteem. You know. And if your bestsellers in that category, then meaning the top 100, and it can only happen in an hour. I mean, that's what you can do. So, I mean, it's a wonderful accomplishment. However, New York Times is different. Here's what New York Times is. These are books that are sold in the United States and shipped in the United States. So even though you live in Australia and I live in Canada, and we don't live in the United States, we can still make our book a New York Times bestseller by having people buy the book in the United States and hopefully have Americans buy the book in the United States, and they're going to ship the books to their home in the United States. And all the books must be selling through what's called a buying agency. What's a buying agency? It's an agency or a retail outlet that reports to the New York Times, like Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and there's a number of them that report to the New York Times. So it's a strategic launch is really what it is. And the idea is they're looking at the books that are sold and shipped in the United States from their buying agencies between Saturday and Saturday, right? So it's a 7-day process. So they look at which books ship the most and in what category, and then they tally and they calculate which ones are the best sellers. It's a much more significant accomplishment. You really do need to be selling. I suggest to my authors, if New York Times is what their goal is, set a goal to sell a minimum of 10,000 books in a week and make sure your book is shipping. All right, make sure your book is shipping. Now, I've put many books on the New York Times bestseller list, including my own. And it's not necessarily but you really got to know what you're doing.
Yeah, look, like 10,000 books a week is quite daunting for, I should imagine, the most of us. I've got a question around that though. In terms of becoming a bestseller, especially a New York Times bestseller, I know with the Amazon it's okay, but can a self-published author reach? So it doesn't have to be a book that has been published traditionally by one of the houses.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as that book is selling and shipping through the buying agencies. See, there's this thing called print on demand. There are vanity publishers. And again, regardless of where you live, I got clients all over the world. I'm serving people everywhere from every corner of this planet. And I've had clients, make their books bestsellers in the United States, and they don't live in the United States.
My next book, I think I'll be hitting you up. I haven't done my next one yet because I did the first one quite a while back. And I did this is another thing that I want to ask as well, because I did quite well with selling a lot of pre-sales.
Okay.
But can you count all those pre-sales that you just do? You know how you take pre-orders? Because it's not that they're going through a channel or anything like that, or you're not selling them off Amazon. So how can you say, okay, so I sold 5,000 books in a week through pre-sales? How does that count towards becoming bestseller status, if it even does?
Well, you can do it. You can pre-sell your book. However, what you can do is, and this actually I'm teaching a class on this tomorrow, so it's kind of funny that you're asking this. So what you do is, so let's say you suspect you're going to be able to pre-sell 5,000 books. So you take the orders and you hold them. Don't ship them.
Okay.
Don't send the books out.
That's where I stuffed it.
Right. Hold those orders and have them processed on the day of or the week of your campaign. So that takes work. Like I did that one time and I had 6 people sitting around my dining room table all entering in orders, like one and it took hours, you know, with a whole bunch of people, but it was fun. We made it fun. We had some music, you know, had some drinks and not alcohol drinks, but anyways, you know, or coffee, tea, whatever. We're keeping everybody happy, keeping them fed. And that's what we did. So that's one way. Another way is if your book, let's say your book is, and this is something that's usually organized with a vanity publisher or a publisher. So, and you have to strategically organize this. So let's say your book gets up on Amazon and it's up there available for sale, but it's not shipping until a certain date. So let's say it's not shipping until May 1st. Mm-hmm. You can pre-sell it like crazy because all those orders are held. And New York Times doesn't start counting the sales until the books are shipped. And I had one of my other clients do this. Now, this works better if you're working with a publisher because you can organize it with a publisher. Like if your publisher is not releasing the book till a certain date, then you can organize it that way. And as I said, there are hybrid publishers as well. There are vanity publishers. You know, sometimes you can, depends on which publisher it is, but sometimes you can organize this with them so that you can be pre-selling months in advance, get thousands of book sales, and then, and of course, that's going to impact the Amazon ranking right away because as soon as a book is ordered, the Amazon ranking is impacted. But the New York Times doesn't start counting until the books are shipped. So if you, let's say, pre-sold 5,000 books, and then May 1st, all of a sudden the book's now available and it's printing and it's shipping, then bam, that's when New York Times starts counting.
Yeah, I can really see now where I made that mistake because I just, as all the pre-sales came through, I would just ship them off in their boxes. And now, next time around, it didn't count.
But I mean, it doesn't count for New York Times or Amazon, but it counts for you. Like for years, I sold books off my own website, and I did that for a couple of good reasons. One, I had the books, right? I had the inventory. 2, if people buy the book off your website, you own that customer. They're now in your database, not Amazon's database. They're in your database. And what I found was that people were looking for more. So people come to my website, they'd see my book, they'd buy my book, and then they'd look around. Oh, well, what else does she have? Oh, she's got this course. I think I'll sign up for that. Oh, she's got this. And so it ends up, instead of being a book sale, it was, you know, other sales.
Yeah. So just with the Amazon bestsellers, because I know that's probably an awfully lot easier for the majority of people to obtain Amazon bestseller status than it is New York Times.
Definitely.
Status. So, I mean, from what you're telling me, the amount of work that's involved with getting to be a New York Times and selling that 10,000 books in, what did you say, a week?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like.
Yeah, it's selling and shipping.
Shipping them, yeah. Mm-hmm. So you really
it's really key.
Yeah. Let's look at bestseller status with Amazon, which I know that a lot of people aim for that one because I suppose just because it's thought of as easier and it's not such a far reach for them. In general, to be an Amazon bestseller, how many books roundabout would you need to sell to obtain that? It's probably one of those questions.
You know,
yeah.
I would say, you know, one of the questions I'm asked most, you know, in all the years that I've been doing this is that how many books? I don't know. It depends. Yeah. It's totally dependent. I mean, you could sell 100 books and become an Amazon bestseller. You could sell a couple hundred books and become an Amazon bestseller. It depends on what's going on at any given moment. What else is selling in what category? What category is your book in? So it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot of sales to make your book an Amazon bestseller. But sometimes I've seen books that have been on there and they're selling, and for whatever reason, they haven't set up categories for their book and they're trying to get in the top 100. And getting in the top 100, again, you got to be selling hundreds and hundreds of books. And if you're looking to get in the top 10 on Amazon, you got to be selling thousands of books. There's a lot of competition in this industry. You know, when I first released my book, which was, 15 years ago, when I released my first book, there were, a couple 100,000 books that were released each year. Now there's a couple million books. So, we've got a big increase and we haven't multiplied our population by that many. It's not 10 times what it was back then. And so, but I think the great news about all of that is, very few authors really invest in understanding what's required to be successful and market their books. And so it's like that program that Wayne Dyer created called It's Not Crowded Along the Extra Mile. If you're willing to invest in yourself, if you're willing to do the work, you can enjoy an abundance of success.
I remember, Peggy, just when I did my work, I had to hire another girl to come in and help me with it all, because there was so much to do just to get that campaign up. So for me, it was hiring extra staff. It was my first big leap, and we're talking, 5-6 years ago. It was a long time ago. And I'd only just entered this field. I feel far much older and wiser now. But back then, I'd only just entered it. And when I looked at what I needed to do to get it out there, I had to hire extra people.
Well, I don't necessarily think you have to hire extra people. You did, and that's great, if you can or you want to. I try and teach people to do it themselves. Now, where you probably do want to hire extra people is doing web pages, because, you and me are alike. I don't like doing web pages, but I can do them. I know how to do them. I don't like writing copy. I can do it, but I usually hire that out. So it depends on how much you're willing to do. But even when you took the course, Vanessa, and what's happening now, it's different. I mean, it's different. It's not that marketing is different. Marketing will never change, how we invite people, how we persuade, how we create offers and things like that. That'll always be the same. But how we get exposure online has definitely changed. And the reason why it's changed is because there's more and more people online. The way we communicate is different. Now, some people think, well, I just need to get on social media and that's it. That's not it. People are still screwed up or confused about what it really takes to be successful. So it takes more effort, but you got to be doing the right thing. It's like if I'm racing and I just race harder to get to where I want to go, but if I'm going in the right direction, it doesn't get me there any faster. Right? I got to know what to do and how to get there and get on the shortest route possible. And that's what I like how people do. It's like they're going in one direction. They think they're going in the right direction. They end up blowing a lot of money, wasting a lot of time, and they don't get the results. And then they're frustrated, right? It's like, just throwing their hands up in the air and they're exhausted. And what I like to help people do is relax in the process, ensure that it's enjoyable, and do the right things. Do the things that are going to get you the most results. And yes, it's going to be work. But we look at anyone who's experiencing success today, they were willing to do the work. You got to be willing to do the work if you want to enjoy the rewards.
Yeah, and I do remember that, like with the course that I did with you, was that you did have it really well planned out step by step for us to follow. And that was such it was such a lifesaver for someone new to the industry like I was, didn't have a clue what they were doing, and then just having it all set out. So yes, I needed help. I had a little toddler at the time and all this other stuff, running a property. So I did get in one girl to help me, but we had it all planned out following what you had set for us. So it was...
That's excellent.
Yeah, it was good. And as I said, if I hadn't have made that little mistake about pre-shipping all the other stuff beforehand, I would have been right, but it doesn't matter. I know for next time. I was just wondering, and it's a question that I get asked a lot, and, books is not really my area. Profile building is, but books isn't. How much of a difference do you think it makes between being a self-published author and then an author that does get signed with one of the publishing houses? Does it make much of a difference to the ability to actually get that bestseller status? No?
Nope. Nothing.
Yep.
Makes no difference whatsoever. What publishers, a lot of people are really confused about what publishers do. They publish books. They don't market books. They don't promote books. That's not the business that they're in. And a lot of people think that, if I get a publisher that they're going to take care of it for me. No. Neither is your publicist, neither is your editor, neither is your literary agent. They don't do all that stuff. The only person who needs to be concerned about marketing their book is the author. It's like you. Right? And, a lot of people think, I just get a publisher. And you know what? You're going to do the marketing anyways. You're going to make a heck of a lot more money by self-publishing your book. And I'm not saying publishers is not the way to go. I've published many of my books. I have 12. I published many of my books with publishing houses, and I'm very grateful that I did. No challenges with that whatsoever. But what I do know is that at the end of the day, it is the author's responsibility. We cannot rely or expect a publisher to do the marketing for us. We got to do it.
I think that's true. I do get a lot of people thinking, oh, I want to sign with a publishing house because it's too hard to do it all by myself and they'll take care of it all for me. But I always was taught, and I was actually taught by Reed Tracy at Hay House, you've got to do the work.
Yeah.
You've got to build your profile. You've got to have an audience to help actually sell this book.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they weren't, even Hay House was not going to say, we're going to do everything for you. They wanted you to make sure that you were getting out there and building an audience, building a platform and doing promotions and all that sort of stuff. So
true.
Yeah, big fallacy with authors there. And I guess I'm just trying to think of one of the questions that I got asked, and it was really about how many books you had to sell, which I think we've covered. Like with Amazon bestseller, like you said, it's really going to depend on, like, it's kind of like the category, the day, all that sort of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really depends.
One of the things that I remember that you taught us to do was reach out and get partners. So I don't know if you do it that way, but reach out and get partners who would help promote your book on the day. Is that still one of the ways that you advise people to?
Well, you know what? You can ask people, but it's not effective like it was. It really isn't. And the best thing that any author can do for themselves is build their own platform. Build their own platform. And as you know, that takes time. That takes time. The best results you're going to get is from your own following. These are from people. I'm not talking about following on Facebook. I'm talking about email subscribers, people that have subscribed to your list. You're engaged with them. You've created a relationship with them. It's a healthy relationship. And they will very likely buy your book and buy multiple copies of your book when it comes out. That's the best thing. It's a priority focus. That's what I teach people now. Yeah, you can ask other people to help you too. I recommend that you do it, but don't expect that the bulk of the results are going to come from that. That no longer works. And you remember back in the day, like where, get bonus gifts from other people? No more. No more. That doesn't work either. Like you see some people who are really ignorant and they're attempting to do that and they got bonus gifts that have been given away on everybody else's campaign. That is a waste of time and it's not attractive. What you need to do now is create your own bonus gift offering, something of tremendous value. And I'm not talking about paying for things or having a cost to ship something out, but have something that's well thought out. And it's easy to do. I actually taught a class on that last week. So it's different. Like those are the things that are different about today from when you took the course.
Yeah, it's changed. Yeah, for just listening to you from what you're saying now, it's definitely changed because I do notice now that they don't seem to be doing everyone promoting each other's book and
right.
The bonus gifts and that so much. So I was actually wondering where is it heading now and what's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
But we just sign up with you and we'll find out, won't we?
That's right, baby. Or I can get out there and, struggle and.
Yeah, well, I've got book number 2 in my head planned, completely different genre than before, more about what I'm doing now. And that's,
right
building your profile and building your audience. So I'll probably become knocking on your door again. My plan is for 2018 for that particular project. So
excellent.
So I just thought, well, there's no point learning now because, like you say, things are changing.
Right.
But I am doing that thing. We're still very focused on building that audience, building that following, and that's probably the main thing. For authors out there, this is another thing that I find and I have been asked about. So, okay, my book's been out for 6 months. It's not done anything. Can I still turn around now after it's been out for 6 months and try and do a bestseller campaign?
Yeah, it could be released in 1966 and you could still do it. Absolutely. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You could dust it off and bring it out again. And,
okay. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I didn't know that, whether that you kind of had to be a new release or whether something that's been lagging for a while, you can rejuvenate it. That's good news.
Absolutely.
That's good news for a lot of people I know that will be watching this and the replay to know that information, because that was something that came up for me a lot and I had no answers to it. So thank you for that. It will light some sparks and some fire in many of them.
Excellent.
What's the one tip before we end off? What do you think probably the one main thing that people need to do or have to actually make their book a bestseller and a success?
That's a great question. Get some guidance. All right. When I first started this, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have anyone teaching me, and I was blind. I mean, blind meaning I didn't know what I was doing. And I was blowing through money, tens of thousands of dollars, month after month after month after month. And I was struggling, and I got to a point where I was desperate. And it wasn't until I invested in really learning and understanding what does it take to be successful as an author in this space. And I learned. Right? I invested the time, the energy, the money to learn what I needed to do in order to be successful. That's the absolute best thing you can do. I've seen people out there struggling. I've had authors come to me after they've blown through all their savings and gone into debt and, and just not getting any results. That's the reason why, I changed my program quite a bit since you were in it. And, I now call it the Bestseller Moneymakers program, because authors need to also think like a business person too. You need to also be thinking about your business and what can you do to actually bring great value to the world and be compensated for it, right? Like create a revenue model. And there's lots of opportunities to do that. But a lot of authors, they just go at it thinking, I'm going to bring my book out there, I'm going to make it a bestseller, and I'm going to be rich. That's not the way it is. And so, I really want to help authors now. And what I do is help authors recognize where the opportunities are, what to focus your energies on so you're not spinning your wheels or blowing through your entire fortune and get results. Because really that's what it's all about. I want to help people get results.
Yeah. There's one more question that's come through that I just want to ask if do you mind just taking the one last question?
For sure.
What is the best way, because there's a lot of authors out there who will write a book and they'll never get any leverage from it. Okay, so what do you think is the best way to actually get leverage from the fact that you've written a book? What comes next with the book after you've released a book?
Sure, make it a bestseller. And then you can call yourself a best-selling author, right? It goes in the signature of your email. It goes on your website. When you're introduced somewhere, it's on your business card. I mean, it's everywhere, right? It's credibility. It's huge credibility. And I mean, there's other things that you can do. I mean, if you self-publish your book, you can give away your book and use it as a lead generator. You could have people have a copy of your book when you're at your events. You could use your book to drive people to your website. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do with the book. There's multiple things. But I would suggest that don't just write the book and stick it on a shelf somewhere and, hope that, maybe someday someone's going to discover me. You got to get out there and you've got to really, promote it and then use your leverage, the accomplishments that you've created with the book to help leverage your career.
Yeah. And I think that's a question for most people is, what do I do to get that leverage? And you just said, we'll just make it a bestseller. Yep.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah. That's a beautiful picture. Is that your daughter beside you there in the photo?
Yeah, that's my daughter.
Oh, very pretty. I was sitting here while we're doing this interview and thinking about your daughter. And I know you said you started this when you were, had a toddler running around. And me too. Like, what drove me and what still drives me and my priority in my life is my son. And now I have a grandson. And my family, my husband, my son, my grandson, I mean, they are my driving forces. And like when my son, I remember he came home from school the day I found out that my book was on the New York Times bestseller list, and I was jumping up and down. And I don't think he really even understood what it meant, at the time, but he saw the elation in me. And he's like, well, hey, what's going on, Mom? And so I told him, and he's like, wow, and then of course, he'd bring his friends over to the house and they'd see the shelf of my books and all these languages, right? Because my books are in 37 languages. And his friends would look at that and they'd see my name and they'd turn to my son and say, did your mom write all these books? And he'd go, yeah, kind of like with pride. And they're like, wow, she speaks all those languages? Of course, I don't speak any other language besides English, but, it's fun to see the impact, like when you think of your daughter there, right? And they're watching us, right? Our children are watching us all the time. They're paying attention to what we're doing, and what it's not only, what we say to them, it's what is my mother doing? What is my father doing? And they're watching that as an indicator of what they should be doing. And I have found that, by creating success in my own life, it inspires my son. And I see it in him, right? I see the fire in him, and I see how he takes action. And my son has his own little business. I mean, he's 24 years of age. He owns a house. He bought his house when he was 18. He has a son, has a business. I mean, he's doing really, really well, relatively speaking. And I know I've had a positive influence on him, and that just warms my heart to know that I've made a difference that way.
You'll like this little story. When Lucia first started school, like she was only in preschool, so just, the little tacker stuff, one of the teachers that taught her at the preschool said to her, "Your mum's an author, isn't she? I have her book." And so, and now Lucia herself writes her own little mini books. So she'll just write them on paper, and then she might write 5 pages, rip them out, and then staple them together, create a cover, and she's made her book. So, wow. Like you're saying, they watch, and I wouldn't be surprised, because whenever there's an author visit at school, she's the first one in line to race up and get a picture with them and get their autograph and that. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so just because of that. Thank you so much. Actually, with like you said, you've got all those books with all the languages in them. That's another question. How do you get printed in or signed to have your book printed in another language in another country, like, for example, Spanish?
Yeah, great question. Here's the thing, because I get a lot of authors who speak multiple languages asking me, should I translate my book in another language? No, let the publishers come after you.
Right.
Every single translation of my book have been people that have come to me, foreign rights publishers. Once they saw I was marketing online, that's all I did. They came to me and said, I want to publish your book in our language. And I've received advances for all of them. And so let them come to you. You make your book a success. You're out there online. They're going to find you. Yep,
that's what I thought. Okay, thank you so much. I've really been so grateful that you've come and spoken to me, and to everyone that's going to be listening to this. Where's the best place to find Peggy McColl?
Well, PeggyMcColl.com is the best place. But, something you had asked me, is there anything you want to suggest? I have something called, they're free, morning author classes. I also have morning money classes. So I have morning author classes and I have morning money classes. So if you go to morningauthorclasses.com, you can get all kinds of free little tidbits on how to be successful as an author. And if you want to attract abundance, go to morningmoneyclasses.com and you can get all kinds of tidbits on how to attract more abundance in your life.
Yeah, I had the morning money classes, but you didn't tell me about the morning author classes now.
Yeah.
That is exciting.
I forgot to tell you about that.
Yeah. So I'm going to add that as well to it. So we'll put the website and then morningmoneyclasses.com where they can sign up for that, and also the morning
author classes
as well. So I'll find both of those and I'll put them up so people can sign up for those ones.
Wonderful.
I think I'll be straight into the morning author ones as well. I love that idea.
All right, great.
Thank you so much, Peggy, and I'll let you go on for the rest of your day, and I'll probably go off to bed now.
Thanks, Vanessa. It was fun. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming along and talking to me. It's been wonderful, and to see you after so long as well. As I said, I do stalk you a bit still on social media. And I always see pictures of you with your family all the time, and I love that about you, how you just show all that family all the time. A lot of people don't let us, or knowing people, don't let us get a peek into their private life, but you do. You show off your family, your grandchild, the whole, and your husband, and your beautiful property.
Thanks, Vanessa. Have a great sleep.
Yeah, I will. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.